I did have a lot of young women and girls come to me and say, it's really exciting now because I can see my way to the top. I just was not at all aware of the level of influence that this appointment would have had on people as they were looking up.
Adena Friedman joined Nasdaq as an intern in 1993 and has risen through the ranks to become CEO, making her the first woman to oversee a major U.S. stock exchange and one of the few female leaders in the financial service industry. I recently sat down with Adena to talk about finding her voice and her best advice on navigating challenge.
You're someone whose career is unique in that you started literally at the lowest level of the ladder as an intern at Nasdaq. When you look at your career, had you talked about your desire to be a CEO?
The CEO aspiration, I think, is one where you almost don't want to focus on it because you first of all need to focus on your current job. You want to make sure you're building the skills necessary to be able to achieve the next level, but you also don't know if it'll ever come. And I'd worked my entire career to the point where I was taking this role. And so I felt very comfortable and confident walking into the role. Then you have this kind of showering of attention related to the role because of gender. And then you just say, well, I guess there was a little extra pressure on this one. I really like that pressure because I use it to drive myself. But at the end of the day, my job is predicated on making Nasdaq an incredibly successful business for the long term. And whether I'm a male or a female, that's what I'm going to be measured on. That's my report card. And so gender doesn't really play a role in the performance of the company.
You've also talked about in your early years, you went to an all-girls school, that was an experience that looking back also was pivotal to shaping sort of your confidence and your own voice in a way that was unique. Talk a little bit about that.
It was one of those experiences where I found my own voice. So when I went to college, I was asking a lot of questions, I was involved in the classroom, and I noticed that a lot of the other girls did not speak. And I thought, well, that's odd. And it didn't really dawn on me what a gift I was given until I was in a co-ed environment and I really was able to hold my own. I suddenly came across certain professors that were perhaps, you know, still living in the past. Why is it that they don't see my voice as important as the man next to me? I didn't know how to handle it every time. And so learning to navigate that, it was a revelationary moment that I had a gift, you know, that I had realized that I'd lived in this environment that allowed me to be my full self. Moving into the professional environment, when I've come up upon people who just live in the past, I've been able to use some of the skills I learned in college to say, you know, I'm not necessarily going to be able to change that person, but I also don't need to change. And so let's just navigate through it until I can get to the other side.
What advice do you give to others who are facing that similar situation? Because it's so important not to change who you are and to recognize that it is other people's problems, but sometimes that's easier said than done in practice. How did you learn to do that with such confidence over time?
Practice. Well, you also have to recognize, I think, a big part of it is maintaining your focus on the end result. What are you trying to achieve? How is this person influencing your ability to achieve it? How do you navigate through it so that you can get to your end goal? If you get distracted by it and you get angry or upset or frustrated and it throws you off your end goal, then frankly you're not doing a service to yourself. So how do you make it so that you can manage through it to get to your end goal? Now that to me is how I've always navigated through challenging situations, whether it could be any challenging situation, but it's always making sure you recognize your North Star and how you want to get to the end line.
How do you think about that in terms of your day-to-day? Because as a CEO and a leader, it is a fire hose coming at you, and you have to have that perspective to obviously see the long game, but still deal with sort of the tactical things of today.
Yeah, so you can definitely get wrapped up in the day-to-day, and I always feel like I take stock of that a lot. I sit there and say at the end of the day, did I just focus on today or did I actually focus on moving the ball forward? It's just a matter of taking stock of your life and realizing how far you've come and that also the journey is long. It's not tomorrow. It can be something that might take a few years to develop, but if you have the patience to work on it and continue to work steadily on it, you can achieve anything.
If you were to rewind the clock to when you started sort of working at Nasdaq, what's one piece of advice that you either wish you had known or wish you had followed in those very, very early days of your career?
The one thing that I've always felt that I wish someone had said earlier in my career is that being a working mother, you should not feel guilty. You can have balance in your life and still achieve great things in your career. And I think that's very, very important. It takes the right partners, the right family infrastructure or infrastructure around you to make sure that it happens. but you can have balance and still have a wonderful and very fulfilling career. And I wish that I'd heard that when I was 23 instead of when I was like 43.